Hello everybody, thank you for joining me. Today in 1512 the public were first admitted to the Sistine Chapel following the painting of the ceiling by Michelangelo. He had taken 4 years over the task. It was not an easy one. First of all, he didn't want to take it on because he wasn't really a painter. He'd made his living up to then as a sculptor, and so he had to learn all sorts of new techniques and so on in order to do it. He found that he was given assistants who really weren't quite up to it, so in the end he insisted he had to do the whole lot himself for it to reach the standards that he wanted. The conditions of the painting were extremely difficult because there had to be a scaffolding, of course, but there also had to be a covering on which he stood so that anything that fell from the ceiling didn't land on the people in the chapel below, which continued to be used while he was painting. The position in which, traditionally he's said to have lain on his back to do it, but apparently that wasn't the case, and he actually drew a picture of himself with his neck craned upwards, a very uncomfortable position for painting. I expect the financial payment that he was receiving might have been an inducement. It was something like £500,000 for the 4 years' work for the contract. But he had to stop working for 7 or 8 months because he just wasn't being paid. So that probably wasn't the inducement that it ought to have been. There were all sorts of obstacles, all sorts of things that made the task of producing this beautiful bit of artistic creation. And yet he kept going and he kept going. And eventually we know the wonderful result. I just wanted today to applaud those who just keep going. Sometimes when we're engaged in a project or a relationship or just a job of work, it feels to be going nowhere. It feels there are too many obstacles to make it worthwhile. We would like to give up. And sometimes I think it is true that giving up is a sensible thing to do. Sometimes it's our pride that keeps us going when we ought to stop. But also equally often, sometimes we just need that inner determination that will just keep us going. I don't know what Michelangelo's was, but probably it had something to do with this vision that he had of how it would look. He must have known what it would be like when he'd finished all the detailed work that he did. And I think if we can have a vision for where what we're doing will lead us, that can be the best incentive for keeping going with it. But perseverance, I think, is a great quality in the right situation, and something which I hope I will be able to emulate today.